Okay, guys, this one is objection handling. All right. So what I think is best case scenario here is just for me to explain kind of how I do it. All right, and just just maybe just go off the top of my head on this. Okay, so when I go into objection handling, I set the call up. So like I said with reframes, I'm about 80% in the hole. I know the objection is committed to memory. So what does that look like to me? So I've created frameworks. They're involved. They're in this mod. They're in the modules as well for you to have a look at. And I would know them 80%. Okay, guys, you're a professional, just like a golfer goes and practices putting, practices swings, his drives and iron shots and all the rest of it. Um, you're going to need to practice your objection handling just like it's your putting, because that's the thing that puts the ball in the hole. All right. So just think about it from that analogy. Like if you're just like you've got a perfect drive, which is like finding the gap, and then your irons are like your stem and leaf method and asking your probe and clarifying questions. If it comes to the green and you can't or you can't putt, shall I say, pot, um, then of course you're going to drop your averages are going to go down, right? So this is kind of the thing that cements things, I should say. And literally, when I was like doing a lot of selling, when I was selling off the phone, like I would literally have a wall full of rebuttals. I'm not going to lie to you, and I would just be like, just craning my neck, and oh no, I wasn't. I was just like, I was just walking up and down the walls, just reading them, and I just had them off bat, and it really helped my closing percentages. Now, when I was on Zoom, which I'll describe, further down on this, I was literally at the camera angle, so I had like a podcast camera angle, which means that I was looking at you. It was almost like third person. The person was seeing me looking at my screen, looking at them, right? And what that basically meant is I could have the frameworks in place, but I didn't read them verbatim. I knew to them to the extent where I could just pick up the first keywords and they could just roll off my tongue. Because just like with the rebuttals and reframes, like if you sound canned, the people are just going to think, yeah, dude, nice sales technique. Yeah, and you just don't want that. And what that deprives you from doing is being able to listen. So remember my other modules, maybe haven't got them yet, because I've actually filmed them in reverse for some strange reason, is that you've got like your little sensor, you've got your radar, and if you're too busy heading the screen, just pumping out rebuttals and reframes and objection handling, you're just going to be like, the person's just, it's not going to land with a person. Okay, so just like a reframe, an objection handling statement or whatever, your objection handling framework is full of reframes. Yeah, that is full of reframes, whereby you're changing a person's perspective, their frame on how they see reality. So just slow it down, listen to it. Has it actually landed? All right. And what I used to do is when somebody used to, when we used to ask the order, I would write down what they said. And because I kind of knew that if you listen to my book, The Closer's Radar, like what the reasons that a deal don't close are, I would literally write down money, fear, partner. All right. And then basically what I would do is I would just literally run through them one by one. Now, I know what Martin from Snail Sniper says, like, deal with money first. And I think that's a real good way of doing it. Yeah. So it's just because that's what it's going to come down to at the end of the day, because it's the fear of, it's loss aversion, spending money a lot of the time. So that's what you can do is you can say, well, what's the one? Okay, I hear you loud and clear. Let me just ask you a question. With regards to the finances, you can be as honest as you want. Like, does the money make sense to you? Have you got the funds available? Or would you be open to talk about finances on this call? And just run through that first, although I'm not going to go on to a segue too much because this is more kind of strategy, right? So like you can design your own, guys. Yeah, and you can have them there in front of you in a nice way that you can learn them, but do learn them. Just don't expect them to be front of mind if you don't look at them. All right. So like, what does that look like? If you're doing a lot of heavy duty selling and objection handling all the time, I would literally do what I'm doing now, which is get Vidyard or Loom and just record yourself going through these. Okay, and watch them at speed and a half to get through it earlier, because let's face it is a little bit boring. So like 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 speed, and every morning you're just watching your primary reframes. So I had like 6, I think. It took me about 20 minutes, and I was just I would watch, and I would say, and slowly but surely they go into your subconscious. There's no better way of doing it. Okay. So in terms of the considerations on Zoom, like I said, make it like a what do you call it, a podcast episode, so they can see you. But because otherwise they're going to see your screen moving, they're going to see you mucking about, going from tab to tab. If you can see, I've got the tabs here, yeah, and that's how you would have them laid out in tabs. All right, the different so these different what do you call it, frameworks will be in tabs that you can just nip to. You can just, and they're just, you can, it's obvious which ones you need to revert to because they'd be written here, yeah. Okay. But again, like I said, no, I'm 80% off heart, so they're more of a crutch rather than anything else. All right, in calls you can do the same, but again, you need to know them off 80% by heart, because otherwise you're just gonna just sound like you're just slapping them people about. Slow down and listen, yeah. And in person, you're just gonna have to know them, okay. And that is like role play them with a team, and like when you go to my module on reframing, the way that I get you to learn is you learn like the key points of like what you need to know. Yeah. So have a look on my module on reframe, and I'll explain how I learned the dad deposit reframe. And basically, there's like certain criteria that need to be hit, and then the rest of the verbiage is just down to you on the call and what makes sense on the call. Okay, guys. So it's a very, I suppose, quite a light overview of objection handling. All right. So if I was to, give a summary, it is be prepared, understand the objections that you're getting. You're going to get outliers. Yeah, I need to speak to my, my cousin in the Himalayas on this or something like that. Or no, that's really just a reflection. But you're going to get some weird outliers. But basically, you want to have your time. You think about it, your partner and your money all dialed in. Okay, and how the different and the frameworks will give you a route in which to follow, but you need to understand that route, have them all dialed in, learn them 80%, okay, so that you know it. So when you get on the call, you can just work through it nice and methodically, but take time out to really ask yourself, is the framework effective? Like, is it actually doing the digging work that's helping me understand? Are they committed to doing this? Like, if the money, if they were handed a bag of cash, would they do it? Why? Like, understand the nuance of, like, am I taking it? So if it's a logistical, like, have I done enough for them to do the open wallet test that it's gone past logistical, and you can just call them out on it being a little bit of fear, because it just doesn't make sense anymore for them not to move forward. Like, if I could snap my fingers, would you do it? The money makes sense. Can you see the value in what we do? Do you trust us as a business? Yeah, well, what's the middle ground then? I don't get it. Is it possibly a little bit of fear? Just help me, just be straight up and honest with you, man. I'm here to help you. And then, like, then you're into the fear side of things then. Okay, so like, you could use my frameworks. I think they're pretty decent for purpose. What I would recommend you do is you can duplicate mine. Okay, and then you can make them specific to your offer. So this isn't like an overnight process. This is something, if you're part of my training, I'd be suggesting that you did it yourself. Okay, and bolting this objection handling preparation into your working week. So just like I said, a professional would go out there and hit the ranges and hit the green. So it is for you when you're objection handling, that you're doing the work. Because as we all know, in sales, there's no shortcuts, because you're dealing with human interactions, and we all want the cookie cutter, the golden stallion objection handling line, but that just doesn't exist. Yeah, that's for the people who buy the Grant Cardone's closers survival guide. and they're just ranting off crap, and people just look at them and say, dude, you for fucking real? It's just not, they're just, nothing that is wrong with them, but they're very highly non-contextual. Whereabouts this is just really learning your craft. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it hasn't opened too much of a Pandora's box, but the frameworks are there. Let's get excited about both them into our sales lives, into our sales work days, learning them and making them effective on our calls. All right.